Welcome back to Conservative Conversations. I am your host, Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today we're going to be talking about the mysterious drones over New Jersey and the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you to please follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to access exclusive content, please become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. Alright, to get started, we're gonna first talk about the mysterious drones that have been spotted off the coast around New Jersey. A lot of people have been talking about that most lately this week. It's been kind of building up over, I think, like a month or so now is when some of the first reports have started.
Yeah, I believe the date was the 18th is what I keep hearing. The 18th of last month is when I guess the first reported sighting was.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, I hadn't really paid too much attention to the story until I guess a few days ago when I guess started making more news, especially since people have been trying to get some answers from the federal government about what might be going on, and they have been, some might say, less than helpful.
What's really from what I've looked into this, it's like everybody at every level is just being foolish about this, and they're not giving answers. From what it seems, there was just a congressman. I'll have to link videos. I'll have to send you links, because I'm going to espouse some stuff that I just don't have, I can't give you these people's names, but I promise you the links are going to be in the show notes, and you can look this up. But there was a congressman who was just at a local meeting where all the state and local county people had this big meeting down there, someplace in New Jersey, on the coast, and he drove 2 hours to come to this 1 hour meeting where they just said, we don't know anything. And this guy used to serve in the armed forces.
Yeah, I think I've seen them.
You saw this. Good.
Well, I don't know if I saw exactly what you're talking about, but I think I've seen this guy speak before.
Well, he said that he specifically worked with drones and attack helicopters or whatever. So it's funny to me, because it's one of those ego things, but he doesn't, you can tell he doesn't talk with ego the whole time until it gets to a perfect point where he goes, I used to do this. I was in the service, and I wrote the code for their program that they're using for blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and I used to attack helicopters. And he's like, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things that he cited from the meeting that really stood out to him, and he was mad about it, was that one of the local guys, sheriff's deputies or whatever, I don't know, they were flying their helicopter over one of these drones. And they followed it for a while, but then just gave up and flew the helicopter back, because supposedly the guy was quoted as saying that he didn't feel comfortable for his safety flying over it.
Right.
So he just gave up and didn't follow it, didn't see where it was going, how it recharges, how it refuels. There's more questions than answers,
right,
with this.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the balloon thing over again.
That's what I compared it to when I was talking about this with a coworker of mine.
Right.
I cited the air balloon thing. And, well, anyway, there's different points on that, and I don't know where you want to fall on it, but I just will hit a couple more points, though, real fast, just to make you think, instead of me taking a stance on how I feel or any of that. But it's been very interesting how it has been put out into the public. For example, there's this other Congress guy who went on Laura Ingram's program the other night, and he was saying that he had knowledge from high up in his committees or whatever that Iran had a mothership off the coast of New Jersey someplace, and that Iran has a contract to deal with China to make all these drones, and they're flying them off of this mothership, or whatever. Well, then, I think it was within the hour, maybe the next day, I don't know, but very quickly, the State Department spokesperson came out, who is a very beautiful lady. I have to tell you, I wish I knew her name. It's an interesting name, but she's just so beautiful to me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to throw that out there. But the State Department spokesperson came out and said that they flatly, contradicted everything that Congress guy said. They said that this is not Iran. Iran doesn't have these capabilities. That it's not this. It's not that. But one of the other things that's been, kicked up about all this is that the State Department's been out saying that they don't know what it is either. And they, at one point, tried to suggest that it was a couple of hobbyists maybe flying these things around.
Right.
But that's crazy to see that we don't have the technology, Iran doesn't have the technology, China doesn't have the technology, but some hobbyists could.
Right.
Well, that's crazy when there's been on average, or what did it say? I can't remember the source, but it's got to be in one of these links that I'm going to send you, because I've only watched so much stuff on this. You know what I'm saying? But one of the facts or whatever is that there's been anywhere between 8 and 144 sightings since the 18th of last month. Every night. So anywhere in between 8 and 144. Some of them are huge.
Yeah, for 6 feet.
And when you try to, huge for a drone, yeah. So, yeah. But, and also when you try to zoom in like a camera on them or whatever and capture them, you can't. It has some sort of force field thing around it. I mean, you can see it with certain cameras at certain distances or whatever. But if you try to get a close-up on it, it just turns into a bubble and looks like a jellyfish. You can't see anything. You're just this big circle of light. And you can't make out the drone. You can't make out any aspects of it, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's basically only naked eye visible.
I haven't heard that yet. That's interesting.
Well, and it's just in a manner of speaking too. That's just Frank talking, using those words.
Sure.
But it's just like what I said, though. I mean, even on certain cameras, certain lenses at certain lengths and distances, you can capture quasi images of these things, videos of them. But it's when you zoom in and try to focus that, nope, you're blocked.
Right. What was I gonna say? Oh, the hobby. If it were hobbyists, one, you would think they would speak up and say, it's just me flying my fancy new drones around. Or if they were going to speak up, and they're hobbyists, they clearly find some pleasure out of the hysteria. But I don't think it's hobbyist. It's obviously not hobbyist. And it's crazy that the federal government has no clue what's going on.
Well, that's sort of key, isn't it?
Yeah.
They say.
Well, yes, what my next point was going to be. They either actually don't know, or they do, and they're just not telling us, which is most likely the case.
Well, I want to tell you, as somebody who grew up in West by God, Virginia, maybe it's just the hillbilly in me, but my first reaction if I were there on the Jersey Shore, and I've heard that they're sort of our cousins in a way, if you know what I'm saying, as far as culture goes. I don't see why somebody hasn't shot one of these things down or put up a big net or friggin' caught one.
Right. That's one of my thoughts, too. I mean, supposedly part of the hang-up is the FAA is in charge of the airspace, and they have rules saying you can't do that. Well, okay, that's fine. How about the reports that they fly back out over the ocean where it's safer to do so? I mean, if you want to find out whose it is, blast them out of the sky and wait and see who responds.
Well, I think that's dangerous. I wouldn't say blast, but like just capture one. That's what I'd be championing. Capture one.
Right. Well, I mean,
see, study it.
Well, certainly saying blast them out of the sky is exaggerative.
Well,
but
that's what this
you may
crazy
have
congressman
to
said, though, too.
Just shoot one down to be able to capture it.
I just think it's interesting that you use that phrase because that's what that crazy congressman said on Laura Ingram's show. He was championing that. He's like, we need to shoot them all out of the sky.
No, I don't. I wouldn't say all of them. Just one, if you have to, just to be able to catch it.
Well, I'd be afraid of starting something. I wouldn't want to blow anything up. Just capture one, like with good old-fashioned rope or something. Capture the thing and try to get up close to it and look at it. You know what I mean? Maybe whatever. Start to try to figure it out, but not aggressively.
I mean, my only point is if you have to, because I don't know how you're just going to toss some kind of net over the darn thing. They supposedly are moving faster than commercial drones even go, and their pilots are reportedly afraid to follow them in helicopters. So I'm just saying, if we have to shoot one down to grab one, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, if they're as superior as all of that and everything, who's to say that some heat-seeking missile or ICBM is even going to be able to hit the thing successfully?
I don't know.
So I don't know. The whole thing, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, the whole thing's crazy. The whole situation.
But I'll tell you this. You say, you know, you sort of... it's not like I'm upset. Don't take this the wrong way.
Right, yeah, I get you.
You sort of mock me on the idea of catching them with a net or whatever. Well, I'm just talking as me, as Frank Reynolds, but there's got to be, like, much smarter people than me in the Army Corps of Engineers and the people who build these kinds of things, and they have, like, different types of rope and all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want to... It's not so much the rope. It's the non-aggressive... Some sort of non-aggressive angle. And I know, like, here's the last point I want to say on it, the cherry on top of this whole thing is, how come we haven't heard from people like Elon Musk? That's who I'd like to get on the phone.
Right, I've heard people talk about that too, and only until recently, Trump hadn't said anything about him, and they were reportedly spotted near his golf course.
Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to, you know, just as a bit here, get on the phone with Elon Musk and get his opinion. I mean, is he worried about it? I wouldn't think so. You haven't heard anything. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should look it up, but I think if he had said something about this stuff, it would probably be out there.
Right,
I probably would have heard it. And he's a genius compared to me, so if he's not very concerned about it, the whole thing just makes me wonder what's really going on.
Yeah, right. It's definitely a mystery, and certainly it seems like a lot of people in New Jersey would like answers. Even the governor of New York is starting to say the feds need to start providing some answers. Hopefully we'll get them soon, I guess.
Well, and I think it's just shameful. I didn't really want to talk anymore about this, but I've used this line. I'll say it again here, get it on recording, and be done with it, but I think it's kind of shameful the way the government's acting to come out and just say, oh, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. But don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely trying to downplay it. They're really not trying to ease the people's concerns by what they're saying. Well, I mean, maybe they might be trying to, but they're not. They're not easing people's concerns. But I agree with you. It is kind of shameful.
I think we should just pray about it, you know, because it's either going to come out good or it's going to come out bad. So.
Yep. Right. But I guess with that, we'll move on to our next topic. That's a little bit of old news, but still kind of making the news. Is the assassination of the CEO for United Healthcare insurance company. It happened about 2 weeks almost now.
Do you happen to know his name? I just wondered if you had looked at it.
Thompson. I think it's Brian something other. I had forgotten his last name.
Well, that's better than I had. I don't have it.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't really heard his name recently. I just hear people talk mostly about the killer.
Yeah, the Italian kid.
Yeah. His name.
That happens sometimes. I mean, it's the Columbine example. You know, they just make heroes out of these people.
Right.
Well, I don't know if it's inadvertent or not. You have to wonder, but.
Well, I mean, it almost seems like some people certainly are trying to turn him into some kind of hero.
Yeah, I think I kind of beat myself to the punch on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because that's my whole bit for this story is like, I just hate how people have reacted to this. Mm-hmm. You know, you had the people who are like saying these horrible things, like, you know, his claims denied or whatever. I don't know what they say. These kinds of things.
Right.
And then you just have the media who basically promulgate.
Right. Feed into it. Like Jimmy Kimmel making a bit out of supposed text messages between his staff talking about how attractive the killer is and things like that. And, you know, being, well, I mean, what I was about to say, I'm not necessarily going to attribute to Jimmy Kimmel's staff, but other people have been making comments saying that, you know, it's a good thing that he's dead because the health insurance companies don't care about people.
Yeah, I feel bad even saying that.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid saying that, but yeah, I mean, that is basically what you had people saying. And then you had the media. I just find it horrible. Remember my thing about Joplin, Missouri, and why I knew then, it was years ago, I can't even remember the year, that Joplin was just absolutely desecrated by those tornadoes. Mm-hmm. It maybe would have been like 2009-ish, something like that.
Yeah, I think like 10 or 11 maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember, but they get out there, and you have some lady who just lost her husband, and this person, I don't even remember, it's been so long ago, but they're interviewing her, and they say, "What's it feel like for you to have just lost your husband?" And they just stick the microphone right in her face.
Yeah.
And they're outside. There's all this destruction in the background behind them, and here, "Ma'am, how does it feel to have your husband ripped out of your life, huh? What's that about?"
Right.
Well, this is what they're doing with this story. They're like, "Oh, isn't it horrible?" They almost pretend to be shocked, even though they're not. Mm-hmm. And they're promulgating this stuff. You know what I'm saying? If they're not outright defending it, they're taking this other approach where they pretend to be shocked and they go, "Oh, I can't believe people are saying they're glad he's dead." Mm-hmm. And they do it as a fake interview. And what do you think? Do you think that's horrible, or do you think it's good that he's dead? What do you think? You know? And it's this big circle of conversation around whether or not it's a good thing that a man was assassinated.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, especially, supposedly for something. I guess people have their different opinions on it, as trivial as health insurance and the way the health industry is run. I mean, if you're going to take on the cause to go assassinate somebody, I mean, goodness gracious, have something better. But I think it's a sad situation that we've, take so much, or some people take so much light in it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. Maybe I think too much or am too conspiratorial, but I almost just wonder if there's not something deeper going on too. Because what does some kind of kid like that get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say that there's not some other actor, with influence and, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's more at play here.
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, you just have to wonder.
Right. Well, I mean, I would kind of wonder, like, what's the media really get out of playing all of this up so much?
Well,
other than the clicks.
I'm
and
sort of glad
the
that you asked
headlines.
that because of what I just said, right? About how there's been more of an obsession over, is it a good thing that he's dead or is it a bad thing that he's dead? And you just go in a circle like that, going, is it good? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it bad? I see this almost as a distraction. Like, how come we didn't hear about this drone thing for so long?
Right.
You think maybe that has something to do with it? Or, I don't know, maybe I'm putting two and two together that don't belong together. I don't know. Maybe I'm, trying to put two pieces where they don't belong. However you want to analogize that.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're trying to say.
But it just also makes me think that, like, when there's all this stuff going on and nobody has any answers, and all they want to dwell on is sin good or bad? Where are we at? What's really going on right now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of reflects, kind of how or where our culture is. I mean, it should be an obvious answer. And the fact that it's not is troubling.
It is troubling.
Yeah.
And I almost just wonder too, you have to throw this out there just because I am a pragmatist at the end of the day. I mean, I can be a big dreamer and a conspiracy, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. I love a good conspiracy.
Sure, yeah.
But I wonder if the timeline has a lot to do with it too. You know, the fact that we're on a ticking clock for Trump to go in and right the world. You see what I'm saying? It's like the last days of chaos right now. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure evil will not go quietly. I was trying to think of a better way to put it, but
it's always darkest before dawn.
Yeah, there we go. It always gets worse before it gets better. It's probably a better one.
Yeah. But I think that's what and I think we have to have hope and not obsess too much. I mean, I can sit and obsess about these drones and stuff, but I don't really care. It's like I say, if Elon Musk's not concerned, then I'm not concerned.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. I mean, he's building rockets that get caught by chopsticks, for crying out loud.
What do you call that science? Rocket science. It's called something fancy. But he's like the smartest rocket scientist we've got. Yeah. Probably in the world. That's probably why he's the world's richest man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if he understands all this stuff about telemetry and propulsion and combustion and all this stuff, and he's not concerned about these little drone things, then guess what? I'm not either.
Yeah. Right. I think that's true. I guess my last comments that I kind of wanted to make about the healthcare CEO thing, it's not necessarily related to his assassination, but more about how people perceive how at least particularly how health insurance is supposed to work. I mean, most people treat it like I don't know, some kind of like payment plan type thing to get your services. And whereas like with car insurance, you're not paying for your car insurance to get your routine maintenance done, to go like get your oil changed, get your tires rotated. But that's how people treat their health insurance, to go get regular checkups and stuff like that. And also, of course, the catastrophic things, which is what it's supposed to be for. But most people don't see it that way.
Right.
And part of the complaint is that it's so expensive, healthcare is so expensive. Well, I mean, anytime you introduce a middleman and multiple middlemen when it comes to the healthcare industry.
Not to mention the government.
That's one of the middlemen.
I know, but still, hang on though. Sure, there are middlemen in the equation.
Right, yeah.
So I just want to make a distinction between that.
Right. But anytime you introduce multiple people in transaction, of course the cost is going to go up. I mean, like, an easy example is food. You can go get a burrito at the Taco Bell, $5. Or you can make a burrito at home, multiple burritos for that same $5. But Taco Bell, being the middleman, raises the cost for your burritos, your single burrito. So, yes, the American healthcare industry is not the best. It's also not the worst, and it certainly could use some reforms. And it'd be probably better if some people, were more educated on how health insurance. Yeah,
that's gonna be my
educated
soapbox.
How health insurance is supposed to work.
That's gonna be my soapbox that I'll get up on real fast, if you don't mind, on this topic. Is I think that is a huge problem. Is people could become more educated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, at least in my experience, the people that I work with, will just choose the lowest health insurance plan, which is fine.
Yeah,
but if you do the math and think about, because some people do go to the doctor a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. But if you do the math and work it out that you'll actually pay less in the year, to choose one benefit plan over another, you can really dig into that.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit down and calculate your numbers multiple ways. Usually you only have like a 2-week, 3-week period that you can make these decisions. So basically, once you sit down and crunch out your numbers and stuff once, you just fluctuate the numbers a little bit over the next few years, right? Because your wages should be rising, and probably so will your healthcare costs and all that. But essentially, you can sit down and see what the 3-tier benefit plan, or if you choose to go without health insurance. I mean, not that I would advocate for that or anything, but you can sit down and do your numbers. You can look through the plans. You can see their clauses. It's just like contracts.
Right.
Go take a class on how to read contracts, and then that'll set you up for life right there. But you know what I'm saying? You can do your homework.
Right.
You really can educate yourself. And I think that is something you're exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. Is people would understand so much more, and healthcare wouldn't be so political if people understood a little more.
Right. I mean, it's health insurance. You're insuring against something that you hope is not going to happen, but you're making a slight bet that could happen. Right. And, I'm sure a decent amount of doctors, especially if they're just seeing people for their regular, yearly blood test or whatever, would rather not have to deal with the paperwork of insurance and the government. They'd rather just say, oh, you need a blood test that's going to be $50. Well, you don't have your $50 today, we'll make a payment plan in-house for you. Something like that. I'm sure, getting more people out of the way between the individual and the doctor's office would lower the cost. I mean, how many other industries do you see this type of situation? Not very many. You don't have to deal with a third party to go get your groceries. Imagine if you did. The cost would probably go up crazy. But yeah, it'd be great if people were more educated on health insurance and how it should work, and ways you can. I mean, part of it is it helps if you make good choices to better your health in the first place, so you don't have to go to the doctor. But beyond that, being better educated on health care systems and insurances would definitely help improve the conversation around the topic, I think.
Yeah, and I definitely think, again, just to sort of button up what you've said, is that insurance is for those catastrophic event type things.
Right.
And the trouble that a lot of people have is they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think that your upfront costs should exist.
Mm-hmm.
You think you should be able to go to your doctor, get your screenings, get your whatever you want. For some reason, all the procedures that come to mind are like feminine. Your pap smears, your mammograms, your whatever, you know what I'm saying, your routine blood tests, your whatever. Everybody wants that to be free or very low cost.
Right.
Very minimal. $5 per thing, right? That's what they want. And then they also want, should the worst happen, to not have to pay anything for that either.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They want free healthcare. And what people you're totally right. What people should understand is that the insurance is there for your catastrophic, should the worst ever happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't lose your house, lose your everything you got,
Right.
That's what the insurance is for. And your routine care is exactly, you said it well. I think you said that part well. Your routine care, comparing it to car insurance, was a very good analogy. So I'll just tell you that. Right. I don't think I loved all of your analogies.
Right, I know.
But that was a good one. That was a very good one.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I didn't, like I said, I know I'm not always the most articulate, but yeah, I appreciate that. But I guess that's pretty much all I had for this episode.
Yep, me too. We had to record it. It's an off day. Just, maybe this will be in the bonus segment or whatever, but we had to record this on an off day because I'm about to go on a trip that I'm very excited for. So.
Right. Yeah. That should be fun. It's like midnight.
Yeah,
almost.
It's got to be. It might be
a little
later.
bit after.
Oh, it's almost 1.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's almost 1 as we sit here now.
Yeah. But, all right, well, if you enjoyed this great conservative conversation, be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and many more. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search at Conservative Conversations 92. And if you'd like to hear an exclusive version of this episode and some additional content, please become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. You can find links in the description and show notes below.
That's right. We hope you might share us with a friend or two and encourage them to become paid subscribers so that they have access to the same bonus and exclusive content that you have access to. And as always, we thank you for listening.